What's up, everybody? I'm Dave Miranda, and this is episode 112 of Just Give Me 5. I hope you guys are doing great, continue to be amazing. We got a really awesome show lined up for you today. But first thing I need you to do is hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and I need you to spread the word about Just Give Me 5. All right. Now, if you guys caught episode 111, you saw we had none other than the one and only Brad Perry. And let me tell you, man, I swear, we could have just went on and on with Brad. You know what I mean? The story is just didn't even, it just felt like it was just like limitless, man. I mean, you know, everything that he's accomplished, you know, like I wasn't really too familiar with the fact that he was in film, you know, prior to getting in media. And so for him to share the Damon Wayans story and, you know, knowing Chris Farley, Tim Meadows, you know, all those guys, man, it's just absolutely nuts, you know. And he's just such a good guy, man. You know, he's been doing a really great job on the Arizona Daily Mix. And we're just so happy to have him on the show, man. Real funny dude, you know. But yeah, man, thank you so much, my brother. And like I said, man, I wish you nothing but the best. And make sure you guys watch episode 111. All right. But today's guest is by far one of the greatest DJs to not only touch Arizona, but the world, period. We're going to talk about what inspired him to become a DJ, as well as him winning the Redbull Thre3style championship. We're going to talk about him being the co-founder of Fader Manners, being in Furious Styles' crew, and so much more. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you DJ Akshen.
Party people in the place to be, DJ Akshen, yours truly. All I'm saying is give me 5. Up high, down low, too slow, let's go! That's a great question. The reason I became a DJ was actually, I have one person to thank, is actually my older brother, Joe. And back in 1986, 85, 86-ish, my brother came home with some turntables. His carpool was a DJ from high school, and he got to borrow these turntables and brought them home. Back then, I was actually a popper, b-boy popping, you know, all that good stuff. And he brought those home, and I was wondering, what are you doing with this? And he's like, oh, I'm gonna DJ. And so one day, fast forward a little bit, he left the room and I wanted to listen to some music. I snuck into his room, put the needle on the record, tried to turn everything on, and he came back, got all upset, beat me up, and then showed me later on the foundation of DJing is how to blend 2 records together and mix them. And then from then on, I was hooked. And you know, fast forward 33 years later, here I am still as a DJ. I was actually in 7th grade. Okay. My brother was doing a lot of high school dances at the time. And our high school dances back in the day were like huge raves. They're like parties. Yeah. We had flyers. We had, you know, students from other schools coming to our dances. And we had over 1,000 to 2,000 kids in our dances. And so my brother knew that I was ready. I had been practicing, and he said, you're ready to DJ the high school dance. Mind you, I've been 7th grade, right, going to high school, seniors and junior, you know, I'm walking in there with my crate of records, walking in, nervous as hell. I'm sitting in the corner, just kind of like sitting in, and my brother's like, all right, you're up, you're on. I had to step on the crate, get on top, step on the crate, did my set, crowd went wild, everyone's like, you know, giving me props and telling me I was great, and I was like, man, that's when I knew. I was like, okay, this is something I wanted to do, and it became my passion to where it was taking over everything I did after school, after homework, yeah, or after track practice, whatever. Right. Hit the turntables. I was always practicing every day. In fact, I practiced so much even after high school when I joined the Army. I was able to buy some turntables and a mixer from another soldier, and I was able to have a setup in my barracks. Really? So when I wasn't in the field, yeah, in the Army, I was in my barracks practicing, and then when I would come home on leave here to Arizona, my parents had my setup from there, and I would practice there. So I was always around it. I was always mixing and scratching and and whatever I possibly could do in terms of DJing.
Dude, how was that in the barracks though? Like, I'm sure the guys loved it because you're helping take their mind off stuff.
Absolutely. My roommates loved it. We had like little barracks parties, and I was throwing on some tunes and cut up and whatnot. But I'll be honest with you, I did that mostly for myself to kind of, like you said, get away from it all and an escapism, if you will, and it just honed in my skills that got me better. And then what we really wanted to do, to be honest with you, in the Army, is we just wanted to get away from that whole setting. So anytime we had to leave, go to the club, anytime we had a chance to, and that's where I was able to be introduced to new music. Listening to the clubs at the time, but foundation was always hip hop, old school records that I had, and was able to play with those, till today. Winning the Redbull Thre3style was probably one of the highlights of my DJ career. At that time, I've heard about Redbull 5 years prior, maybe 2010, 2011-ish, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember looking at the competition, because I had entered competitions before, but I thought this one in particular was different because it was party rocking. It was, you had technical skills, you had party rocking skills, you had all these things that you had to do, to be in this competition, because it wasn't just technical like a DMC competition. So for me, I thought, it's kind of right up my alley, because I dabble into DMC, and I've done DMC, and I've done party rocking competitions before, but this prestige of Redbull really was something that I wanted to, strive to get in and possibly, win. And what ended up happening was I couldn't get in for some reason. At the time, there was a lot of politics going on for whatever reason. You had to know somebody to get in and whatnot. It was kind of that way, and I was like, man, and then the years went by. Shout out to the DJs here in Arizona that won at those times. First off was DJR, and then M2. Shout out to those guys. And then what ended up happening when I got in, we had to submit videos like nationally. So everyone in this certain region had to submit videos. Like thousands of videos came in, and they picked particular videos to, they picked, I think it was 6 videos in each region to compete. And the region was gonna be held at Monarch, and it was me, M2, Javen, Ohm, rest in peace, Blaze, and then, I forgot the other gentleman's name. God, he was a video DJ from Scottsdale. I apologize, I forgot his name. But it was all 6 of us, and we were representing basically the Southwest. At that time, Red Bull had enough funding to do regionals. There were 12 regionals, right? So if you think about 6 DJs, times 12 all over the country, and each winner got to. So I won the Phoenix Regional in 2015, and the Nationals that year was going to be held here in Phoenix, Arizona. So it was one of those things I was hoping that I would be able to, 1, win regional, and then 2, be able to represent. So leading up to that regional, I told my wife I was just going to lock myself into the room. 3 months. I just was just DJing. Exactly, it was just all training. And I remember just thinking of affirmations, kind of putting it into the universe of how I was going to win and who was going to place, all these things. And one story I'd like to share is my daughter. I have a bookcase in my living room at the time, and I had moved everything over, and my daughter came up to me. She's like, "Daddy, what are you doing?" She's like, "Honey, I'm manifesting. I'm putting where my trophy is going to be. I'm going to place it right here, and when I win." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And she went on her way. And so I envisioned who was going to be first, who was going to be second, who was going to be third. And crazy enough, at that regional, Javen was third, M2 was second, and then they called my name as first, and I won. And I remember thinking to myself, how crazy that I envisioned that order, how it was going to be. And then when I got home and I placed that trophy on the bookcase, I broke down and cried. And my wife was with me, and she was just holding me and just telling me, in anything that you do, you believe in yourself and you work hard enough, man, you can accomplish it. And that was one of the things that really kind of put me on the map and made me feel I could do anything. You know, fast forward to the Red Bull, the Nationals. I go to the Nationals, and all I'm thinking is these are the 12, well, I'm the 12th, so the 11 best DJs in the entire country. They're all coming to Phoenix.
Yeah, this is national.
And this is the Nationals. Everybody's here. And everyone, and I'm going to be a little bit biased, but I think the Nationals that I played, because after the year I won, they stopped doing regionals. And they just, yeah. And so what they did is, like, hey, you submit a video. If you win, okay, the 6 best videos, they go to the Nationals. So there wasn't a regional. So they didn't have that pressure. They didn't have to worry about creating different routines. So what I did, and what's different when the regional I was in, is that even if I won, I still had to compete in the next 2 days because it was a 2-day final. So they took the top 2 from the first day, and then they take the top 2 with a wild card in the 3rd day to compete at the finals. So the first day I chose to, because you get your name out of a hat or whatnot, and so I picked my name, put it in there, and I was chosen to go on the first day, and that was at Monarch again. So it felt like home turf, home base, if you will. And then I won, and I was chosen with one of the 2 DJs to go to the finals at the press room. And so that's where Jazzy Jeff, Z-Trip, you know, they were judging as well as performing, along with 4-Color Zach. And so I go to the, so I was one of the 5 chosen. So now I'm in the Nationals, and then unfortunately, that, you know, that's where it kind of my journey ends. But I took a lot with me because I know that everyone in that group of DJs, you know, the world champion came out of that. It was Jay Espinoza. DJ Trey's later on, he became a US champion. You know, we had so many different DJs in that class that are so top tier. So shout out to all of them. And it was an experience that I'll never forget, and I always take with me, and I'm always so proud that I was a part of that. The first one I most recently is Next Level. And Next Level is a global international hip-hop diplomacy program that's run by the U.S. State Department, Meridian International, and the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. So you have artist educators from the different elements of hip-hop. You have DJs or beat makers, b-boys or dancers, MCs, rappers, and then aerosol artists like graffiti writers, right? You have all those 4 elements. All of those, they take and you submit an application, and they go through the application. You have to have a cover letter, references, videos. There's this whole process to actually get involved. There are legends who are in this, who are alumni from Popmaster Fable, Lord Finesse, you know, Diamond D, Cuttin' Candy. You know, you have so many different legends in different Scheme Richards. You have all these different legends, B-Boy House. You have all these different legends in their different fields who are part of this program. And what the program does is, because back in the 60s, they used to do a program in the United States where they would send jazz musicians to other countries. It was sort of a cultural exchange to show these other countries what the United States was about in sort of like peacetime, to show them that, you know, this art, this music, this jazz was something that you know, we want to share and kind of teach. And so they did this back in the day in the early 60s. And what ended up happening as time went by, jazz no longer became you know, popular music. And so when the program got revamped back in early 2014, 2013, I believe, they're talking about, well, what's the most popular genre of music? Hip hop. And hip hop is worldwide. And so what ended up happening was they wanted to put a program together. And so that's what they did. They started to gather all these particular artist educators, and then they would take them to different countries. I think Next Levels has been in 44 different countries. Wow, man. And so at that point, each artist educator does workshops. Yeah. So they get in contact with the country's embassy. Okay, and that embassy gets students to come to these particular workshops, and then at the end of the workshop, they do a collaborative performance with the students, and as well as the artist educators, and then they do a show, and then that's basically, and then they exchange information. And then one of the things I do love about Next Level is that we get to donate a lot of the equipment to these countries and to these organizations and these students in these countries that don't necessarily have the resources for these, for particular countries, so particular equipment. So when I was in Romania in November, my team consisted of Saki 1, Substantial, Genesis B, Amira Sakit, and myself, and then Rochelle Underdew. So and A. Billy Free, sorry about that, A. Billy. So we were a team that went to Romania. The first city we went to was called Timișoara, which is a third size of Bucharest. And that country was beautiful, man. The people there, the culture, the history. When Romania decided to break away from communism at that time, Timișoara was the first city where it started the revolution. And we learned that there, and we actually saw in the square bullet holes on the apartments still out there when we were there. And so we were able to do a lot of media and do a lot of workshops and a beautiful performance in one of their beautiful malls out in Timișoara. It was one of the highlights. I think it's a video that I shared with you that you have when I was in Next Level. So that's the highlight video that I have with that, doing that performance with all the students that came to our workshops. And so it's an experience I'll never forget, and it's something that anyone who is involved with it, they continue to stay active, hopefully with the program, and as well as in their communities, because it's all about community service and being able to reach out and expand hip-hop culture to not just here in our community, but overseas and all over the world.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So that's Next Level. The other organization or kind of group I'm with is the Pangean Orchestra.
Yeah.
The Pangean Orchestra is founded by my friend Colin. He is considered the world maestro. And so Colin, he hit me up a few years ago because he was putting together, he had already done a couple of different things with the Pangean Orchestra. And what the Pangean Orchestra is, they are artists from different countries who play different instruments from those particular countries or other countries, and they do a collaborative piece, or pieces I should say, of music together, and they come together as an orchestra to show the unity of all these different types of instruments that can collaborate and come together into one orchestra to play in front of an audience and show and share the beauty of all these different instruments coming together to perform one piece. And so as a DJ or a turntablist, Colin is proficient in so many different instruments from all over the world. He even went to the Scratch Academy, so he knows about scratching. And so knowing that turntablism and DJing came from the US, he wanted a US-based turntablist. So he reached out to me, and so I've done maybe three or four shows with the Pangean Orchestra. One during pandemic, of course, that was virtual online, but we did one at the Tempe History Museum, was the first one I did, and it was phenomenal. The energy was a packed house, and I believe that things like this, the arts like this, getting so many different individuals together who have different schedules and different lives and things of that nature, to kind of come together and then rehearse and then be able to do a piece. It's so challenging. So my hat's off to Colin for inviting me to be a part of the Pangean Orchestra and to be able to perform in that space. So
it's beautiful, man.
thanks.
And then I see that necklace, man. Tell us how Furious Styles came about.
So I've known House and Furious Styles Crew since 1993. I've always been down with them and been helping them with a lot of ventures that they were with. And I know back in the day when House was part of Cyphers, the Center for Urban Arts, he was a co-partner with my boy Scooby, and I was also part of that. I was the director for the DJ programs there as well. So shout out to Scooby and Cyphers. And of course, with House, I've known him and I've seen his evolution from, just being a b-boy in the streets to, running and helping run ciphers, to going to ASU and being a professor there, and then also being part of Next Level as well. And so all these things that I've seen House doing and being a part of the culture and the community, I was always about that. We were always aligned in that. And it wasn't until a couple years ago when he had asked me to be a part of Thre3style's crew. And it was one of those things that I thought, it's about damn time. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
No, everything.
It only made sense.
It only made sense.
Yeah.
But everything happens for a reason, I believe, and I think timing is everything. So when you're patient about things, things happen and they come together, and that's my crew. And I love these guys. I was actually in Spain this past summer. We have a chapter in Spain. I was able to DJ for the 12-year anniversary for Thre3style's crew Spain. Shout out to Artis and all the guys out there in Spain. We did the I did the 2-on-2 battle for the first day, and then the crew battle the next day in Barcelona. Beautiful, man, just gorgeous out there, and just grateful for the travels and being able to be part of this crew that's going to be 30 years this year. 30 years, we're celebrating our 30th year, celebrating hip hop's 50th, FSC's 30th, and my 50th as well.
Beautiful. It don't get no better than that. And then you and Les, you speak about talking about, giving back, giving opportunities, man. Talk about fader manners.
Wow, fader manners is something that I'm so proud of. Les and I talked about that back in 2014, and I knew he had a particular spot that he wanted to do something. I think after he won the DMC competition, we had talked about getting together and trying to keep this turntablist scratching culture, this art form alive, because everything was going so digital and going so club-like and during that time. So we wanted to be able to somehow preserve it, get a lot of DJs together, and then introduce turntables and this art to people who don't know, someone who's never touched a turntable. What I loved about Fader Manners is we had fathers bringing in their kids who had sold their turntables and their records, years ago because life got in the way, right? They had to do other things to pursue, to make a living, and DJing was one of their passions. So when I see fathers coming in with their kids to a Fader Manners and they say, this is what Dad used to do, and they want to get in front of a turntable and they want to touch it and they want to know what a mixer is and they want to know what real vinyl records are, it's something that I'm so proud of, that me and Les have been able to do this. And shout out to all the places that have been able to host us. We've even had chapters up in Flagstaff. Shout out to my guy Kip Killigan, who's done the one up in Flagstaff with us there. Shout out to Kip. And then of course my guy DJ Touch and Jamazon in Tucson. We've done a couple of them in Tucson. And so I'm even trying to get up in Romania to do a Fader Manners out there as well. So we're trying to expand and continue to bring this turntableless scratching culture and continue it to grow. And we've had phenomenal guests, thanks to Trill and Chuck, bringing the, people like DJ D-Styles and Shortcut. We even had the man, the legend himself who invented scratching, Grand Wizard Theodore. We had Grand Wizard Theodore at the Fader Manners. Of course, DJ Qbert as well. So we've had multiple different guests within our space, and so we're so proud of that, and we want to keep continuing to go, but it's so difficult because I know, with everyone having 9-to-5 jobs and Les doing his thing with Las Calacas, and us being parents, those kinds of things are a challenge. But nonetheless, when we do it and we get the whole crew together and the whole Fader Manners family together, it's always worth it at the end.
Beautiful, man. And then not to end there, because the party just don't stop with you, man. And I know you're involved in founding 3 different DJ competitions out here as well. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So with Fader Manners, and I knew that we were doing it as a monthly, so every month there were DJs that got together and they would get to cut and scratch. And what ended up happening was like, man, some of these DJs, that's all they did. They got out of their bedroom. I was able to get a lot of these DJs out of their bedroom to come to a Fader Manners, to get in front of turntables, scratch, network, laugh, build friendships. And then I thought to myself, man, you know what we should do? We should have, like, toward the end of the year or sometime, an all vinyl scratch competition. So those DJs who've been at a Fader Manners can actually compete for some prizes, some money, you know, a little bit of clout, if you will. So I thought, okay, so I came up with the Scratch Exchange, and I've had so many different DJs who have been to a Fader Manners win it. One, shout out to my crewmate too, DJ Reflection. He's a 2-time Scratch Exchange champion. So him doing that, and then now he's a judge with us, so anytime that we throw it. So that's the Scratch Exchange, and I've been doing that. And the reason I got to give a shout out to my man Antrix up in the Bay Area, because he started he's part of Battle Avenue, and he started a organization called, or a battle called Cut to Cut. And that was my inspiration to do the Scratch Exchange, because I saw him do it. I was a judge at the Arizona one that he came in town with. And so when I saw that, I hit him up. I'm like, yo, we're going to do something similar. I just want to get your blessing from it and do the Scratch Exchange. And so that's what the Scratch Exchange was. And that's what we do, and we try to do almost every year. We're going to start it back up. Pandemic really put a pause on everything. So that's the first one. The other one is Cut the Weight. So Furious Styles crew, shout out to B-Boy House and Johnny. They were doing a B-Boy competition called Worth the Weight. And Worth the Weight was dope because sometimes when you're doing a B-Boy competition, you have these little shorties that will come in, they want to compete, whatever, but they get bounced out in the first round because they have these heavy hitters who would, all right, you know, they do a cypher, they do a 1-2 minute round, and they're done. Because, you know, all right, next on. Even if it's like a 7 to smoke or whatnot. So fortunately to them, they thought, well, how can we get, you know, these beginners, intermediates involved so they can be partaking? And so they created Worth the Weight, where they had these different weight classes. So you had beginners being able to compete with beginners, middleweight, and then heavyweights. And so I thought to myself, well, why don't I do that with scratching? Because I know when I have DJs who are just barely beginning, they can't compete with a guy who's been doing it for, right? So I'm like, okay, so why don't we do Cut the Weight? Yeah. And so I had DJs, and so Cut the Weight was something that I put together and created where the heavyweight champion got a belt. And so my first Cut the Weight heavyweight champion was my guy Mad Max, and he had been going to a Fader Manners for the last 4 or 5 years, and he was a regular. So shout out to Mad Max for winning the first Cut the Weight. And so that was my first venture into kind of like different divisions, if you will, for scratching. So that was Cut the Weight. And then the last one that I just recently did last year, because of technology, a lot of DJs are now, instead of 2 turntables and a mixer, they're using controllers. Yeah. For the convenience, and I totally get it, because when I was on the Disney cruise ship, I would use controllers. When I do mobile gigs, I do controllers. A lot of places that I've DJed at, they have a controller. So I thought to myself, with a lot of these DJs who aren't proficient with turntables and a mixer, but they do rock on a controller, why not do an all controller battle? So I threw it and created this battle called Out of Control, pun intended. And it was held at Trill in May, and I had DJs flying in all the way from Florida, Colorado, California, Texas, New Mexico. I had all these DJs from all over come to compete in this sort of almost the first of its kind controller battle. And yeah, I get it. There's going to be some DJs, some purists who are going to be like, that's not real DJing, that's controller. Yeah. Well, but I had such a great turnout, and I've had so many people hit me up who are wanting to get involved with it and do it again. So definitely this year, be on the lookout for the next Out of Control battle. And so shout out to DJ Trendy from Cali. He won. He was my first battle. And then I had to give a shout out to my man CJ. He came all the way from Florida. His dad had passed away, and he dedicated the battle, and he got second, and he won. So shout out to all the DJs that competed. And my man Panic got third from FSC as well. So those are my 3 kind of my babies, if you will, with in terms of competitions that I'm involved with, that I created and organized. The last venture that I just recently did in August was the AZ DJ Summit. Yeah. And that is a networking event that I created for all the DJs, any kind of DJ, with your mobile, with your battle, club, radio. Yeah. mix, whatever, to come together, to kind of network and find different avenues, maybe different revenue sources. Maybe a club DJ's never done a wedding, or vice versa, or whatever, to get information. So shout out to my guy Jeff Jones. So Jeff and I, he's the co-founder that we both thought of this, and he wanted me involved with it, and I was like, I would be down to co-produce with you. And the first one that we had was in August of last year. It was a big success. We had a really good turnout, a lot of good feedback. And so this year we're going to get more sponsors, more vendors, and it's going to be sometime in August as well. So we're excited to do the AZDC Summit for the community and the DJs here in Arizona. So shout out to all the DJs. So come through. Look up AZ DJ Summit, and you know, you never know what or who might be helping you in your next venture. Wow. One DJ, dead or alive, that I would be honored to battle. I'm going to say, I want to say DJ Z-Trip.
Okay.
I would love to battle Trip because I think I've seen his career. I've had the honor of knowing DJ Z-Trip from back in the day when he used to live out here, when he used to do Nita's Hideaway with Tricky T, when he was part of the Bomb Shelter DJs with Emil and Radar. And so just to see him evolve. And I think the only reason why I'd want to battle is to see where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? To see like, okay, cool. It's like, oh, you're going to go this direction with that. I'm going to go here with this. And I think it would, you know, they say iron sharpens iron, right? Real recognize real. And I want to be able to be known as real. And so I would hope I would get that cosign. You know, he's one of the GOATs. I always give it up to Z-Trip. People always ask me who are my top 2 or top 5 of Mount Rushmore, and I always put Z-Trip up there on there with Jazzy Jeff and Qbert and such. So for me, it's Z-Trip because I love that he stuck with what he did, and he didn't conform when everyone was, you know, at the time wondering what a mashup was, when he was mixing these different songs over these different tracks. There was a time when people thought that was corny, or they didn't get it, right? They're like, what is this? Right. And he stuck with it. Why? Because he was true to that, and I love that. And I saw that all the way through. And I remember doing a rave. I was at a rave at Z-Trip, and I remember I was in one room, and he was doing like the main room, whatever. And I had finished my set. I walked into this room, and I know he was playing like Led Zeppelin over something else. I forgot whatever it was. And we're at a rave, and I'm, you know, as a DJ, you know, we're always like, you play to the crowd and you get the crowd on your side and you get that trust, and because it's not about you, it's about the crowd, the people that you're playing to. So at the time, Trip was like, Z-Trip was like playing like Led Zeppelin, and I'm walking here, 2 things come to my mind as I'm walking in here. I'm going, can I curse? 2 things I'm going on, I walked in, I'm like, what the fuck is going on in here? Like two ways, like, whoa, what the fuck, and what the fuck. Right. So those are the 2 things that I was thinking in my mind. One, he was like, it's like, the first what the fuck is like, why are you playing that? What are you doing in this rave? Right. And the other what the fuck is like, yo, that's ballsy, stick to it, it's fucking dope. Right. You know what I'm saying? So, and what he ended up doing was, that was the thing. He became the mayor of the mashup, and that's what they called him and DJP with that Uneasy Listening Volume 1 mixtape that just went to the stratosphere. Everyone copped it, and it was 4 stars on Rolling Stones magazine. So that really put him on the map, and it made everyone want to be a quote unquote mashup DJ, and everyone wanted to do these things. So Z-Trip is my guy, man. So shout out to Trip. Here's an example how it feels. I think, have you ever had a present that you're unwrapping as a kid or even as an adult, and it's something that you didn't know that you wanted, and you get it and you open it, and that feeling of joy as a child, when you're getting that first present that you open it, it's something that you've always wanted, and all of a sudden you get it, that feeling. Or as a DJ, when as a battle DJ, you get to, you know, you first get that crab and you're able to crab, or the flare, right? You get the cut and you're like, oh, I got it. And you're just like, yo, that feeling, oh, yes. Or you're in a battle and everything that you did, every trick in that battle was flawless. And then they call your name in that battle as the winner. That feeling. Or as a B-boy, you're doing an air flare for the first time into a 1990, that combo, and you're able to pull it off flawlessly. That feeling, the joy, that feeling, it's epic. It's almost unexplainable. It's a feeling that I think a lot of people need to have in their lives in order to succeed. We have to have that feeling because I think, to me, knowing that, it makes me get up at 5 a.m. and work and do what I got to do. And it's also the feeling like when I don't want to go to a gig, when I don't want to do a Fader Manners because I'm thinking nobody's going to show up, but they all show up and they're all there. I think that feeling of an accomplishment, it's the feeling of transcendent, and it's so epic. And sometimes it's a feeling of utmost gratitude at the end of the day. What up, party people? My name is DJ Akshen. Remember, you are blessed. Continue to fight stress, make more out of less, and always be your best. That was my 5. I'm out. One love.
And there you have it. Man, shout out to my man Akshen. Akshen is just such a good dude. Not only is he an incredible DJ, incredible talent, but he just has such a wonderful soul, man. You know, he's always helping people out, always willing to give his time. And, you know, Fader Manners is still something that's just so incredible that him and Les got going on. You know, I mean, it's just, I've witnessed it, you know, to see them giving back to the community, you know, getting kids in there the opportunity to learn, you know, learn skills, you know, and kids who are aspiring to become DJs, even if they're not, just to go in there and learn, you know, even adults. I mean, it's beautiful, man. So, man, I wish you nothing but the best, my brother, and nothing less. Thank you so much for blessing our platform today. And make sure you guys are following him on social media. And shout out to my brother Jimmy Nelson on the camera. Make sure you guys subscribe to that YouTube channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend. All right. Well, this was definitely one for the books. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, though. Until next time, stay tuned, stay blessed, stay healthy, and just give me 5, y'all.
Everything you get, you got